Hi there. Welcome to the Step Stories podcast. I'm Robin Breuner, and my guest today is a super interesting guy named Michael Vinton. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, Robin. Oh, that was so kind of you to say. Thank you.
Of course. Michael and I are sort of like step family because we both have our podcast produced by Scott Slaughter.
Yes.
Wait, all of a sudden I'm forgetting.
R63 Pod Media.
Thank you.
I got you.
R63 Pod Media.
I got you. Yeah.
That's really bad. Sorry, Scott. But Michael's a multi-talented person who also happens to have a beautiful blended family story. So I can't wait to talk about all these things. And let's talk about you and who you are.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
You're an actor, a comedian, a podcast host, a nonprofit director, and a father. So
Yes.
You've got the mic. Let's talk about who are you? Tell our audience,
my gosh.
please.
Well, that was a great introduction. Thank you, Robin, for that. Yeah, I do. I wear a couple different hats, which I don't know if that was always the plan, but I think, no. I've always just, even from a young age, like just really admired people that were very entrepreneurial and like able to like boss and then come home and then like have kids and like get them ready for school and life. I don't know. That makes me a little crazy, I think. But now you say that, yeah, that is kind of my MO, and that's what really drives me, I guess, really, you know. But yeah, I'm an actor and a comedian and a dad and gosh, a foster parent. There's a whole litany of things. But yeah, I everything kind of started when I met my now husband on our first date. I was reflecting on this earlier today. We actually talked about like what we wanted out of life in a relationship, which might be kind of odd for gay men, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't meet and have our first date like, you know, at the bar. We went to a coffee shop, you know, and there is where we kind of like got to talk. And on our first date, you know, we talked about family and wanting like a wedding and really shared our dreams and aspirations with each other, which was really refreshing for me.
Yeah.
And there's when we figured out we wanted a family. And I mean, at that time we didn't know we wanted one together, but these were our goals. Right. And, yeah, I was like, oh, cool. This guy's really interesting. And as our relationship blossomed, you know, so did marriage. And then came family. And then came the baby and the baby carrot. Oh, gosh.
You are so witty. You're definitely a comedian. Well, okay. So how did you meet him, Tony?
Oh, yeah. So
Besides in the coffee shop.
right. Besides in the coffee shop, we did have a little beginning. So I have that one token straight best friend guy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and his name is Rob. And Rob had tried to set me up before. And it's kind of awkward because it's like, Rob, I want to tell you like what my type is, but I don't know if that's like, I don't know how straight guys feel about that, you know? So he had tried to set me up before, and finally he was like, I've got this guy, his name's Tony. And at the time I was in my mid 20s. And Rob was like, is 40 too old? And I was like, oh my God, 40. Jesus Christ. It's at the top of my range, like, you know, but I was like, I'll have coffee with this guy and see. And turns out he was funny and charming. And that's how we met, was through a mutual friend. So Rob essentially finally got it right. Thank God, after all these years.
I love that. Well, okay. So that was in LA, I'm guessing. In Los Angeles.
Correct.
So, but where are you from originally?
Sure. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I moved to Los Angeles in 2005 to pursue my career, but also I attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts here in Hollywood. So that's what brought me this way. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so are you kind of an actor, comedic actor? Are you a comedian separately and an actor? Like let's talk about your career, just because I always find that also fascinating.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So I did start off in stand-up comedy, and I definitely went down that route and, hit up all the clubs around here, the Hollywood Improv, the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, just to name a few. Um, and I've always really enjoyed stand-up, but at the time, I always heard that, like, if you want your own sitcom, you gotta be a stand-up. You think about, like, Roseanne and Jerry Seinfeld and all these greats, that came from that world of stand-up. And, so that was the avenue for me, and it was always therapeutic, though, because you just get up there and bare your soul, like, when I was going through dating life in Los Angeles, I talked about that, and then when I met Tony, I talked about our gay wedding, and then when we were going through adoption, I talked about our adoption process, so, that's kind of the trajectory on that, I love comedy and all the greats, the Robin Williamses and, there's so many. Jim Carrey, all these people that I idolize. John Candy, his latest documentary. As a kid, I just love that guy. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how I came to comedy.
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. You're clearly a natural comedian because I've been
Oh,
smiling this whole time and laughing. You have the
thank you.
facial expressions. For those who are only listening, he's really got the great facial expressions.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so also, this is less funny, like a lot less funny. You
Hmm.
have a podcast called
Mm,
Unspoken Grief.
yes.
And so it's so really actually kind of wild to go from talking about this and laughing to this subject. But it's an unusual subject. It's an important subject, and it seems to be one that's not visited often. So, can you talk about that,
Yeah, I
please?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was another great introduction. You must be a writer.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Um, I'm gonna ask you to write all my introductions. Uh, yeah, so in 2020, right around the COVID shutdown, my family and I experienced a traumatic loss where my brother died in a murder suicide, and he was the person, as we say, who caused the harm. So he took the life of his mother-in-law, and then he died himself by suicide, and immediately next to feeling the heartbreak and the overwhelm of emotion of losing my oldest brother, I began looking for information and there just wasn't a lot, if any at all. I remember I wanted to
Mhm.
find a book to read. This does happen. It happens to everybody, but there are some celebrities that are open about it. And I was like tracking down their stories, and made me reflect on growing up how this happened to Phil Hartman, the actor comedian in the 90s,
Mhm.
where his wife unfortunately took his life and then she died herself by suicide.
Right.
So I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't alone. And I was very fortunate to meet another survivor, and that created more space. And we were getting together and meeting, and then we decided after a few years of our own grief to really get out there and advocate. And so we created the nonprofit Impacted Survivors of Murder Suicide, and Unspoken Grief has become our beacon of light of getting our word out there. It brings the most ships back, if you will. Um, People are finding it's like you spend all this money on SEO for your website, and majority of people that are getting to us are saying, "Hey, I listened to this podcast episode. This really helped me. I lost my parents. I lost, such and such." And so it's a really important mission, and one that I've found has really kind of taken over a lot of my passion right now in life. Um, for the longest time, I felt like I could always be funny, but I feel like for a moment in my grief, I lost the funny. Things just
Mm.
weren't so funny anymore. And I was very sad for a long time. And there's still moments of sadness. Um, the anniversary of his loss is coming up next week.
Mm.
And so it just never goes away. But laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. So I found a way to do both.
Mm. Good for you. And this is something that I've not heard talked about very much, but in the instances I've heard, I have someone who I just think the world of who was on our show in the very beginning, named Michelle Bennett. And I remember meeting her it's been almost 10 years at this point ago. And she experienced when she was about 13 watching her father kill her mother.
Mm,
He did not then kill himself. He did get incarcerated though. And I just
mhm,
thought, how do you go on after that? And she just, she's just a beacon of light also.
mm,
She's an incredible stepmother and she's such a loving person. And I have just so much admiration for going on after that. And I just really commend you for bringing this subject to the light. And what happens with your nonprofit? What do you do there?
sure. Well, thank you. A lot of it is bringing this awareness out and raising um, that bar of, hey, we're here, and trying to destigmatize all these headlines and the language that a lot of people will use. And I myself can freely say that I sat back years ago and would judge people, particularly like I was in Columbine. I was in Columbine. Oh, Jesus. That was a complete misphrase.
Good.
I was in high school when Columbine happened. And at that time, I was like, how could the parents let the kids do this? They didn't know what's wrong with them. And fast forward, some years later, I find myself in that position on the other side
Mhm.
of these questions. So we raise the awareness, we provide education, we're speaking at conferences with mental health professionals that can come. It supplies a CEU credit, the continuing education credit for them. And the more we talk, the more space there is, and there's that line being driven out for us. And so we have the podcast as well, and we have a grief course, and mostly resources, Robin, on the site to help survivors when they experience this in the first hours, what they can do. Um, because this happens to a lot of people where it's the same family. So this happened
Mhm.
where my brother passed, but it was his mother-in-law. So um, we had to only deal kind of essentially with my brother's side of it. Although his wife is my sister-in-law and she survived. Um, and there's that complexity. So,
Mhm.
so that's what we're doing. And we also provide support services to loss survivors. So we have 2 support groups a month for them.
Good for you, Michael. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, it's just wonderful. So if people want to hear this podcast and need this help, please listen to the Unspoken Grief podcast. And you can find it like mine everywhere, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, so I'm going to bring it around now to your family of
Hmm.
today that you have with your husband, Tony. And before we get on into talking about your kids, I also just want to ask a little bit about Tony because it seems like he's an interesting guy as well. He has a food channel show or what? Tell me about that a little bit.
Yes. Together we produced and he starred in online cooking show, award-winning cooking show. Ironically, for best comedy, we won a few times for best comedy. He's also a funny guy. He likes to think so. But it's called Dish It Out and it's on YouTube. And when we first started, there were so many cooking competitions, reality shows on television, and
Yeah.
he had auditioned for several, and we were like, let's just, again, make our own lane. And we created Dish It Out. And there's a few seasons, I think 3 seasons. And that was really fun. It was like our first labor of love, our first child together. And then when our actual human child showed up, then unfortunately the show had to take a back seat because it's really hard to do things when you have little kids at home.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, it's a handful, that's for sure. The show and the kids.
Well, let's get to those kids. Let's talk about your two daughters,
Hmm. Hmm.
Zanna, right? And
Zanna. Hmm.
Sabrina, Zanna.
Correct. Hmm.
So you're such an entertaining talker. I'm just going to let you take the mic and talk about those two girls
Sure.
and how you came to be a family and yeah, the adoption process, the foster process. So
Sure.
please tell us. Yeah.
Thank you. So on that first date that we talked about having a family, Tony and I both also discussed, oh my gosh, talked about a family, talked about our financial histories.
Wow, that's a lot on a first date.
We threw it all out there. Yeah. I guess we
Nice.
had to like get married after that because at that point it was swapping social security numbers. No, I'm kidding. That would be really strange. But we talked about adoption, and my mom is actually an adoptee. She was adopted, and he has, well, together we have two nieces, but at the time he had two nieces adopted as well. And we just felt very strongly about it. And to be honest, it was also kind of one of those things where even if surrogacy was an option, I would like to think I would still go the adoption route because I just feel, and I've always felt, Robin, that adoption is a family thing in my
Mhm.
family, and my grandparents started it, and I'm so grateful for that gift. Um, Unfortunately, my grandmother was not able to have children biologically herself, and at a time like that, oh my gosh, I'm going in a different direction, so sorry, but
It's okay.
in a time where she was a young person, they didn't know. So by the time she realized um, that she couldn't have children, she was older for what they would say older is. And my mom made her way to her and my grandfather, and there came my mom. So I just always grown up with this loving story around adoption. And so
Mm.
I just knew it was in our path. And after we got married, we decided to start the adoption process in 2015. It's a lot like online dating. I don't know if you know a lot about like private adoptions, but we created like a profile. And then the
Mhm.
birth mom has a profile, and like she winks and we wink, and then we're a match. It's
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
It There's so much marketing that goes into it. You know, it's like you take the pictures and you put the best ones where you're like all loving. Um,
You don't want the
and
ones where you're, like, punching each other. No, I'm kidding.
no, you don't want those. You don't want those. Yeah. Those get X'd out. But I remember, I hope I can say this. At one point, it was giving us advice. They were like, we want pictures of big Christmases when we celebrate Christmas. And I was like, well, we don't have like a tree right now with 1,000 gifts underneath it. So we staged it. We set up
Oh,
our tree. We wrapped some boxes, millions of them, and took a picture, which
love it.
nowadays you could probably use AI. But
Yeah.
anyways, so we went through the adoption process. It took a lot longer than we expected.
I think
So
that's always the case, it seems like.
yes,
Yeah.
and for good reason. We were really lucky where we had never matched with somebody and it fell apart, thankfully. We had submitted to many birth mothers, birth parents, and like never heard back. But
Hmm.
it was 2016 in like May, and we heard we got winked, so we winked back, and then we had a phone call, and I met my oldest daughter's birth parents over the phone, and um, it was a match. So it was a beautiful experience. We got to meet them before she was born. We got to work out our plan, and yeah, we were meant to be there because it was a C-section, and
Mhm.
but my daughter came early, so she was not born in the state, so we had to get there. So um, yeah, that was just a unique experience, and I'm so grateful for her birth parents and what we shared in that small, tiny hospital room, the four of us, um, was just unlike no other. It's hard to put into words, you know? Um,
Is it common, for people who are adopting to meet both birth parents? I always think of adoptions where it's usually just the mother who's giving up the
mm.
baby, sharing the baby. So is that common?
It is common in an open adoption, and that's what
Okay.
actually makes it open is that you're meeting prior,
Mhm.
um, and that you
The
have
father too. Meeting the
correct.
father too. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's a little unusual because I think the example you gave is more typically understood, you know?
Yeah.
And we did have a few, I'll say young birth moms that were unmarried that we came across, but this is definitely a unique situation in that sense.
Mm.
But the huge benefit is, yeah, I have pictures of them and we got to meet them. And I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, you look like your birth father, you know? Ironically, he looks like me. Um,
Oh.
Gorgeous, blue
Oh, gorgeous,
eyes.
of course.
But he's a little more blonder than me.
Uh,
So that was a unique experience. Yeah. Hmm.
how is it, how was the experience as two gay men, being
Hmm.
two dads going through the adoption process? There's examples on TV
Hmm.
that I love of that, but in reality, in real life, is it more difficult? Is it no problem? Like, what was your experience with that?
It's interesting because the advice that we got from our lawyer was, you're in a good situation as both males because a lot of birth moms will think, if I place with two men, I'll be the only mother this child will
Mm,
ever have. I don't have to compete with another woman. So
mm,
that was a huge benefit. But then when you're considering all 50 states of our enormous country, there are going to be places where the birth mother might be okay with it, but then there's going to be family members that aren't.
yeah.
And I believe at the time our lawyer told us straight up, he was like, if it's a state that has specific laws, one of you may be the only person able to lawfully adopt, and then you come back to California and then we'll do the second adoption.
Mm.
And I was like, that sounds like a lot more money. And yes, it is. So that
Yeah.
was shocking, but again, we really lucked out. And but so yes and no, where I felt like we went into a good category, but it was hard because there are so many families out there looking to adopt,
Mm,
and it is a very expensive thing for sure.
mm.
And you can just, like I was saying before, taking pictures of your house, the marketing aspect, sometimes you're up against some really wealthy gays out there, and what person doesn't want their kid to grow up in a beautiful home with Teslas and private schools, as an option. So,
Hopefully, they
yeah,
want them to grow up with a couple of loving parents. That's
yeah,
usually very important. So,
yeah.
even it just common sense wise. But well, so all right. Well, let's talk about it. So you adopted her. I
Hmm.
would love to hear more about Zanna and then her sister. She came along. So
Sure.
let's yeah.
So we call her Z for short, um, was just like the perfect baby. I know that's so gross to say, but she was a really good baby. And people would tell us, like, this is unusual. Like, she slept through the night. She hit all of her milestones. Like, I don't know, she was just and continues to be a very unicorn in this world. Um, and I always tell her that she picked us. I do believe that your children pick you, whether they come to you biologically or through adoption or foster care or um, in the gay world, we also talk about a chosen family of people. When you're sometimes biological people um, disassociate with you. So family means a lot of things to us.
Mm-hmm.
And after Zanna was like right around 2 or 3, we definitely wanted to have more children. And we both felt strongly about the foster process, that we could give kids a good home. So we began the foster process here. Um, Took all the classes. There's a whole different set of classes in the adoption, a whole different set.
Mm,
And we began our search, and it took some time. Um, it took a lot of time, actually, because the number one thing with fostering is reunification. They tell you that out of the gate, like you're fighting an uphill battle. And these kids are going to be reunified, whether it's with their biological parents or family member, aunt, uncle, grandmother, neighbor. They don't care. They want these kids to be back where they're, like, quote, originally from.
mhm,
So we had like 4 or 5 foster placements, and then they all went back. And each time it's heartbreaking.
mhm.
You do all this work and then they return, which is what the purpose of it is. So,
Sure.
um, yeah, by 2022, I was like, I think we're good just with Zanna. like, let's just give her one hell of a good life, if I can say HE double hockey sticks. And like you do, you plan a European vacation, and then you get a call that there's this beautiful little girl who was just born, and she has chosen us to be her dads. And she's healthy and gorgeous. And, um, we said yes. We have to be very quick because when they call and it's a newborn, um, they want to find a placement immediately for this child. And so we said yes. And she was in the NICU. She was born a little early. So we were visiting her in the hospital. And I remember when I walked in, the nurses are like, "Let me show you your daughter." And I was like, "Jinx, toy, 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 toy." Like, she's not yet. Like, so let's chill with the D word, I don't want to jinx this one. And as it is, you have to wait some time until you actually go to court and have the adoption in both cases, like with the private adoption and with the foster. So we brought her home. Zanna was 6 and Sabrina was just born on Thanksgiving of 2022.
Mhm.
She's my little turkey. And to top it off, she's African American. So we're introducing a biracial content to our family. And
Hmm.
had to revert back to like our classes and stuff, like, oh, it's so gross. But
No, it's
very,
not. I'm glad to know that there's I didn't know that there were classes before
mm,
adoption and fostering, and I'm very glad to hear that. But I'm
mm-hmm,
also sorry I interrupted you, but
yeah,
I so curious because I'm not understanding. This baby's just born,
mm-hmm,
and you're fostering it, but you're actually she's available to be not available, that sounds terrible,
it's
but
okay.
she can be adopted, and I'm not
Mm-hmm,
totally understanding the difference between adoption and fostering that's immediately an adoption. Like, can you
sure.
explain all that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a good point. And thank you for clearing that up. I always think people know exactly what I'm
Mm-mm.
thinking in my mind. So, a lot of babies will be born in hospitals, and for whatever reason, mom will, sometimes they'll abandon them. They just leave. They leave. And so the child will go into the system by paperwork, and they'll try to find a placement immediately. Sometimes there's what's called a safe surrender. And so on TV shows or movies, it's when somebody will leave a child at a police station or a fire department, or sometimes they'll come into a hospital and safely surrender.
Mhm.
And what I didn't know is a safe surrender is an act, it's a law. And so it protects the birth mom um, from any information. So for whatever reason, she is doing it to protect the child.
Mhm.
So opposite of being selfish, I believe personally. And so that's how Sabrina came to us. And so that's why we were able to just go to the hospital. Once before we had fostered a little boy again who was abandoned. Unhoused people, just for an example, they get pregnant, and they go into hospitals and they deliver the babies, but they can't take care of them and they just leave. And so this was the third time something like this had happened where they had called and was like, a baby was just born. We need you to come pick them up. But for Sabrina, it was definitely what they refer to as a unicorn, because she was safely surrendered. So there's no contact. They're not trying to reunify her with anybody. All of that paperwork is redacted from her files. Um, and so I have so much love in my heart for Sabrina's birth mom for protecting her. Ooh, excuse me, for whatever reason,
Mm. Mhm.
because I trust her that she made this incredible call to protect her. So I
Mhm.
have so much love, oh my gosh, in my heart for this woman. I was
Mm.
incredibly an act of, oh gosh, what's the word? Um,
Selflessness? Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, she's a lucky girl that she found her way to you and
Mm,
Tony. And, well, I have a few more things popping into my head about all this. First of all, um, like what how has it been having 2 dads and then 2 daughters, a white and black African American, daughter? Have you had is it just been smooth sailing? Has it been bumpy?
Mm,
How's your family been with all of these things?
mhm.
Can you talk about all that? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been
Yeah.
very interesting. It's like one of those things where you think completely opposite of what happens. So, for
Mhm.
example, um, I'll never forget we traveled. Zanna was only like 5 months old. First of all, both of my daughters were born with a head full of hair. And for two men that don't have a lot of hair, it's like, is this a joke? So by 5 months, Z had all this hair, and we were taking like an early morning flight. We didn't do her hair. We're not like the dads that are gonna like pull it up and put a bow in. It's LAX, you know? And we're on the plane, and this woman walks by and she looks at us, and then she says freely, she's like, I was looking at that baby and I was like, gosh, look at that hair. And then I realized she has two dads. I was like, I'm gonna get out this seat. I was like, I couldn't believe that she could be so, I don't know, judgmental and rude
Yeah,
in the same
yeah.
sense. Um, and Zanna did need a haircut by 5 months, by the way. So, anyways, it's weird because
Yeah.
like, um, there's been a lot more, where people think that I'd like to say this as, gosh, as openly as possible, where I really do feel, Robin, it's less about the fact that we're both men and gay, and it's more about like that we are men, you know? And so there's been a lot of like side seat parenting in my life that I wasn't expecting,
Mm.
um, from just whoever,
Yeah.
friends, neighbors, people that aren't parents, and that's fine. I'm a very open person, and I love to get perspectives from people, but that's been, I gotta say, the hardest thing. Like, oh, isn't that lovely? Like, I remember one time Zanna, I told her to go to the potty and she didn't go. And so she had peed in her pants a little bit. And so I was like, well, I mean, I told you to go potty. And this friend was like, oh, you shouldn't let her sit in her own pee. It's not good for her, her lady parts. And I was like, oh, right. Because I have a penis, I don't know any better. Like, listen, she didn't do what I told her to do. So she's got to sit in it. I mean, I
Mm.
changed her. I'm not a terrible person. But so that's been
It's
interesting.
I think it's at least from my experience, and it's been a little while since I had 2 babies, but, it is crazy how people just feel like they can say whatever they want to you, you know? Um, and you're just like, "Okay, thanks, like, I didn't ask your opinion," and
Hmm.
gosh, I can only imagine now how
Hmm.
nuts it is with, people just say whatever they want about anything, it's crazy.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm sure that's gotta really, really rub you the wrong way when people do
Yeah.
that.
Yes. And conversely, Tony gets it the opposite. Like, he was at the park one day with Sabrina and Zanna, and African American lady walked in, and she said she was like kind of just admiring the kids, and she goes to Tony, "Are you the hairdresser?" And he was like, "Excuse me?"
What?
As a gay man, like that grew up in a time where there was stereotypes, he completely took it like as that way. Like, am I a hairdresser? Like, excuse
What?
me? And she was like, your daughter's hair looks really good. Do you do it?
Oh. Oh.
And he was
Oh.
like, oh God, no, my husband does it, but thank you.
Oh,
So
brother.
yeah, yeah.
Well, what about your own families? Are they supportive and great with the kids, or, I mean, how does
Hmm.
that work?
Absolutely. Tony has a very large family.
Mm.
He's one of six. He has another sibling who is gay as well. And she has a beautiful family. And I mentioned Tony has two nieces. Those are her daughters that are adopted from Guatemala. And so I feel like with that family, having our family, in the family picture is just adding more sparkle to it.
Yeah.
And my family is great. I'm the only one who has children of my siblings. So my girls definitely get spoiled. And um, I'm originally from the South, like I mentioned, from North Carolina. And so it's, you know, we grew up with a lot of diversity,
Mm,
and I remember one time somebody posted online, like, when was the first time you had a African American teacher in your lifetime? Just a general thing, like a poll. I was so happy to just type in, oh, when I was a kindergartner, Mr. Walls from Montclair Elementary School in Charlotte was my teacher. And not only was he my kindergarten teacher, but he was also the assistant principal. So,
mhm,
like, I was like, it made me feel so good. And I started to realize how lucky I was to grow up with diversity. So,
mm.
um, for both of our families, everybody is just so excited and um, welcoming and understanding, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I spent some time this summer in Pennsylvania with my cousins, and we went to Hershey Park.
Mhm.
And Sabrina just navigated towards a group of African American girls when they were like on camp, like a camp outing. And I kind of like looked around and I lost her for a second. And I was like, "Where's Sabrina?" And my cousin was like, "Oh, she's over there with the other girls." And she was like, "There's no other black people around here. She's got to get them where she can." And I was like, "Yes, she does. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad you see that too. Okay, good. So
Love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Well, and are they in the same school? How old are the girls now?
Zanna is 9 and she's in the 4th grade, and
Okay.
Sabrina is only 3, and so
Oh,
she's still
yeah.
in preschool. So there's
Okay.
quite a age gap between them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're not, I'm guessing does Zanna mother Sabrina? You have a
Yes.
little mother? Yeah.
Yes.
How nice.
She mothers her. Yes. And sometimes it's good, because I'm like, Z, get her. And then sometimes I have to say to her, I'm like, will you let me be the parent? Hello?
Yeah.
So,
Little
yeah.
the oldest I'm an oldest daughter, so I get that. I think
Yeah.
it just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, gosh, just thinking, do you have anything you're looking forward to career-wise, family-wise right now? What's
Mm.
going on these days?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Tony and I made the very hard decision just this year to not renew our foster license. Up until
Oh.
this point, we've been renewing it yearly, and you have to renew it yearly, which means there's certain courses you have to. It's like going to
Mm,
college.
mm.
Certain courses you have to take because everything changes. More awareness. I can tell you everything about implicit bias that you want to know. Um, and so we made that hard decision to cut that off and just focus on our family, because what that let us do was like take in kids for foster placements, but also when foster families need respite, like it's too much and they need the kids to just go away for the week. I shouldn't say go away, but like, take a break and go to somebody else's house. Or if they're going on vacation, we would provide respite and a placement would come to us for just a few days. For example, a family had a death in Japan and they had to go back to Japan. Well, the state of California is not going to let you take a foster kid out of the
Oh,
country
right. Right.
without a lot of judge approval. So the placement came to our house while they were back in Japan for the funeral. So
Mm,
we were doing that. My husband, that's where his passion really soars, is for these children. So, like I said, we didn't make the hard decision to just focus on our family. So, right now, I'm working on the nonprofit, and we're having a really exciting year, speaking at a lot of different engagements. And we're actually presenting a keynote this October for the Lost Team Conference in Nebraska. It's very exciting because I didn't really know where Nebraska was. I was like, where are we
Hey,
going?
hey, hey, I'm from Kansas and Missouri, so it's right
Oh,
above there.
there you
Yeah.
go.
I know, the old flyover country. All you West Coast and East
I
Coast
know.
people that don't know. I remember I don't know why I'm saying this, but I was in college in Boston and I went on a date with a fancy pants guy from Harvard, and I told him I was from Kansas City, and he was like, "Oh, why don't you have more of a Southern accent?" I
Oh,
was kind of like, "Because
God.
I'm from the Midwest. Don't you? You go to friggin' Harvard." Like, anyway,
Jeez. I get
that's
it.
another story. I have never forgotten that.
I get it. I get
um,
it.
anyway, well, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I like too the idea that you bring so much to the table for that nonprofit, not only having experienced it yourself, the murder suicide,
Hmm.
um, and I don't know if that's the right way how to say it. So if that's the wrong thing,
Yeah,
sorry, I
no, that's
apologize.
perfect. Yeah.
And you've got a family now, so you understand it viscerally, just with your own family, just the love and the protection, and then you bring this sense of humor and your very big heart. So I'm sure you're a comfort to a lot of people and a great resource, and
Thank
it's a
you.
wonderful thing that you're doing
Thank
all
you.
around, fostering kids, adopting kids, loving kids, and helping people. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
On behalf
Yeah.
of humanity, thank you.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, that's very kind of you to say. It feels like a bit of a mission. This is how we wanted our family to be formed, and I'm very proud of it. And just try to lean into and acknowledge it as much as possible. Like I was saying, how I tell my daughter, "You look like your birth father." That won't be an option for Sabrina.
Yeah.
So surrounding her with as many people that she can identify with um and community members, I think it would be more is as important.
Yeah.
But it does feel like this is what I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, I'm really, really grateful for all the experiences. In between Zanna and Sabrina was a lot of heartbreak, but at the end of it, I got Sabrina. So it was all worth it.
Mm.
Yeah.
The good things are worth waiting for, right?
They are. They are. Yes.
Well, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, just about fostering, blending, adopting, all the things that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I always like to think that there's enough room at the table for everybody. And as hard as it can be, I know even though I come from a family of adoption, I still had my own thoughts about how I felt. And
Mm.
then I adopted and I feel very differently. Um, I evolved. And so I guess I would just say patience and being open. Blended families are difficult. All families are difficult, really, when you think
Yeah.
about it, relationships. But when you have to blend, just like anything, it takes time. Like I'm just thinking about like cooking and blending something. Like it doesn't naturally just stir and oh, it's blended. It takes a lot of time. So just give space to that and love and care and openness and be willing to accept the things you cannot change. I don't know if that's a cliche, but um, I think that has a lot of truth behind it.
I think it does too. That's a good
Yeah.
thing to remember. So thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you for being on the show. And I'm glad that we finally met. Like I said, we're sort of podcast step siblings with
Yeah.
R63 Media. I'm going to say it right.
Yeah.
Our
There you
producer,
go.
Scott, who put us together, Scott Slaughter. He's fabulous. We both love
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And please check out Michael's podcast, Unspoken Grief, with Tina Chevalier. Is that how you say
Correct.
her?
That was great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we'll have his information in our show notes. And please share the episode. And please follow us, both of us, on Instagram and Facebook and wherever else you get your social media. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Step Stories Podcast. Bye-bye.